Now, I think it's very safe to say that 2023 was the absolute worst year for the Walt Disney Company, and it also was not a good year for Marvel Studios, where things left off with The Marvels, by the way, in late 2023. That was the worst MCU box office opening in history, alright? We know this, Kevin Feige knows this, and it's only about to get worse with the 2025 lineup of Marvel films. That's about to, of course, drop, and we all know the drama happening with Captain America 4, Blade 2025, and Fantastic Four is not helping. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So, Ryan Reynolds, we've been talking about him for several months now. He has been doing an excellent job going up against the Disney heads, preventing as much DEI nonsense in Deadpool and Wolverine as possible, with a lot of wins and some losses in the process. Let's be very real about this. There were some DEI elements that made its way through into the Deadpool and Wolverine reshoots, but one great thing is that it's going to be very minimal in this movie, so that's a plus. But one interesting thing about this has a lot to do with Ryan Reynolds still to this day going up against the Disney heads and exactly what's really happening behind closed doors and the context of everything going on here. Let's jump into this. Now, one thing about this is that we know that Ryan Reynolds and others out there, like for example Henry Cavill, I mean, those are two prime examples of actors that are willing to take a stand against the executives and the CEO of, for example, Disney and Netflix. You know, we have very similar scenarios happening between those two actors. But what's interesting here, with all divisions at the Walt Disney Company going through endless challenges due to Bob Iger's cost containment strategy and his ongoing deliberate DEI agenda, one major development now has much to do with Ryan Reynolds and the Deadpool and Wolverine drama that's been going on behind the scenes. One significant update to this situation that's going on right now involves how Bob Iger and Kevin Feige recently made their final call that Wolverine's war scenes that were done by Hugh Jackman will officially no longer be inserted into the director's cut of the film that is planned to release sometime during the holiday season around Christmas time specifically. One shocking turn of events now, however, is that Ryan Reynolds recently lost a major project that he and Sean Levy were reportedly working on at Marvel Studios, that Disney CEO Bob Iger and Kevin Feige decided to drop the rating of a project which was codenamed The Wars of Wolverine, which was going to focus originally on a rated R rating that was now downgraded to PG-13. This in turn already created a stir-up between Reynolds and the Disney heads, where Ryan is said to be stepping down as a co-writer and is already in the process of convincing Hugh Jackman to also step away from this project, The Wars of Wolverine, unless Disney caves to put an R rating for that project. Bob Iger and Kevin Feige got into the heated arguments with Reynolds and of course others about this project after Bob Iger decided that this should stay as a PG-13 rating. With Reynolds now out of the project and Hugh Jackman also furious over the new rating, this project likely, of course, is not going to move forward anymore. Both Reynolds and Sean's idea was to focus on a whole film of Wolverine fighting throughout the Civil War, World War I and II, and even Vietnam. This came as a actual inspiration after filming the war scenes for Deadpool and Wolverine that got deleted, that Disney refuses to put in the director's cut of the movie. Now, the plan was to drop this film in theaters sometime by 2027 as a surprise production and release to the Marvel fans that is now in complete limbo mode. Reynolds is also now warning Disney of leaving Avengers Secret Wars with his involvement in the film as the character of Deadpool and as a co-writer as well, if things do not resolve within the next 2 months, which is when a new contract is reportedly set to be signed between Ryan and the Disney heads about a mega deal for 5 whole projects in the MCU that actually leads into Marvel's Phase 7. Now, in addition to that, Bob Iger is also set to, of course, have Ryan Reynolds actually go through all of this, and Ryan Reynolds also is putting his foot down for the production of Deadpool 3 to focus on zero DEI agenda shenanigans, to, of course, to prevent that from getting thrown into the film, basically, is what it boils down to. Now, let me be clear. Since Deadpool and Wolverine is not considered the third movie, both Levy and Reynolds are already working on the true third film that is now in early development, where Disney was already beginning to fall into their overall strategy by inserting DEI, something that Ryan is already fighting against yet again. However, Disney has been trying to insert their agenda for this film, specifically much like what they tried to do with Blade 2025, and are still attempting to do as of right now for that film. With tensions rising between the Deadpool creatives and the Disney heads, it's only putting Marvel Studios in a more delicate position than ever before. Now guys, let me just say one thing before we move on about this. Now, look, Ryan was, for the most part, and I mentioned this earlier, for the most part successful with Deadpool and Wolverine by really minimizing as much Disney agenda elements spilling into that film as possible, alright? And the main reason why he was able to pull that off is that he had a lot of people backing him. He had Hugh Jackman, Sean Levy, Paul Wernick, and Rhett Reese, the writers of the film, and among others, such as other cast members, really supporting Reynolds in the process, and all taking a stand against Disney behind the scenes. Now this basically, for the most part, saved the reshoots from falling into the agenda, the message by Disney, which is why I think Deadpool and Wolverine could very well be a one-off success, where it's the one movie by the MCU, by Marvel Studios, that could very well be a major hit. Maybe not quite as big as Endgame or No Way Home, we'll have to wait and see, what the box office numbers are going to look like, but it should be up there. It should do pretty well, as long as they actually have a good story in place, which I'm sure they do. But, at the same exact time, I absolutely do not believe it's going to save the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because next year, we have a lot of expensive failures on the horizon. You have a lot of things happening with Captain America 4, Blade, Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts, and that's just the start of things. So, moving on forward here, Bob Iger even argued on cutting back on the marketing campaign for Deadpool and Wolverine by the end of this month to reduce spending on the film, something that also created more arguments between Ryan and the Disney heads, along with Sean Levy, the director of the film. So again, like I've said before many times, is that the message, the agenda by Disney, it never works, and I think that they know this. They know that a majority of Marvel fans, Star Wars fans, or even those that grew up with the original Disney animated classics that just resent seeing what it's turning into when it comes to the live action versions. They know that there is quite a level of people walking away from the Disney brand, and they seemingly do not care. Why? Well, you got people like BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, the top 3 shareholders over at Disney, funding everything related to DEI and ESG. And yes, by the way, DEI, it stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, in case you didn't know. It does not come from a genuine place. It is always used to shoehorn an agenda, to hire specific, employees to take care of these projects just for the sake of doing so. And that's why they don't really pay attention to proper storytelling or character development as a result. And that's why you get a lot of subpar actual projects coming out, whether it's from Lucasfilm or Marvel, doesn't matter. But overall, I would love to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.